bike to a stop in an emergency?
Emergency stop.
Yeah, how do you do it?
Both brakes.
Okay, anything else?
Don't dip your clutch until the last second.
Yeah, like that. Why is that? Why don't you pull your clutch in until near the end?
Just freewheel, don't you?
Yes.
To make use of the engine braking.
Make use of the engine braking, yeah. Also, if you don't pull your clutch lever in, then basically it means that even if you press a little bit hard on the back brake, your engine is keeping the back wheel turning. So in a way, it reduces the risk of you locking your back wheel. What's the biggest mistake people make when they stop in an emergency?
Too much brake.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, you're right. But
yanking it on, like, you know, rather than smooth braking, yanking it on.
Absolutely, yeah. If you think about it, when you press that brake lever, when you squeeze it, your braking power, I mean, there's actually no braking power there for the first bit of movement because your brake pads have just sort of relaxed off the disc, purely and simply because when you let go of it, you take the pressure off that system. So when you push that lever, there's a piston here, just on the end of that brake lever. That piston pushes into that reservoir, and that then creates pressure in there. That pressure is transferred down to your caliper, and that's what pushes your brake pads onto the disc. But when you release your brakes, you release that pressure. So the first bit of movement is just bringing that pressure back up again. And then you start to brake. So you do get a fair amount of movement on the lever before you even start slowing down. When you squeeze again, then you can feel the braking power come in. And if you do it progressively and firmly, you can actually feel the weight transfer to the front of the machine, because there's no brakes on you, don't forget, the brakes are on the bike. So as that weight comes forward, you're pushing that front tyre down against the road, which in a way increases its grip. So you get a good braking efficiency on the front tyre because you've got the extra weight pushing it down. And as you sort of bring that power in, you're pushing that tyre down, you're increasing the grip, you're getting good braking, and you get right the way through to a point where you get to emergency braking. But once you go past that point, you get to a point where you're squeezing that lever so hard now that effectively you're putting that much pressure on it, you've locked your front wheel. So this is why it's progressive. But if you just let go of your throttle and just ram that brake in while you're still doing 30 mile an hour, you've actually locked your front wheel at 30 mile an hour. And that's where you end up in a heap on the floor, because there's no way you're going to be able to grip that road sufficiently when you've locked your wheel solid. So you never grab that brake, never ever grab your brake. You reach for it and it's a progressive but firm squeeze so that you're under control. So never grab your front brake, squeeze it. That's the thing about emergency braking. And let's go to test day, because when you go to test day at some point in the future, on your module 1 test you've got to do an emergency stop for the examiner from 32 mile an hour through a speed trap. So you come through the speed trap at 32 mile an hour and the examiner does that, and he wants you to stop your bike as quickly and safely as you can, as if a child has stepped into the road in front of you. So you do a perfect stop, but you pull your clutch lever in just that fraction too late and you stall on your test. And the examiner stands back and you see him do this. He's just given you a minor mark now because you've actually just lost control of your engine. Because you've not pulled your clutch lever in quick enough, you've lost control of your engine. You've got a minor mark. Well, you can live with that.
Yeah.
Pull the clutch lever in too early, and then you've just got a little bit too much back brake on, and you lock your back wheel, and the examiner steps back. He puts a nice big cross in one of the boxes because you've not lost control of your engine now, you've lost control of your bike. That is a different thing altogether. That's a test failure because that is deemed to be unsafe. So you're far better stalling, even on your test, and getting a minor than you are pulling it in too early and skidding. Okay? That's the way to think about it. There's no gear changing comes into play either, because when you're slowing down, if you're considering going down the gears while you're slowing down, what have you got to do while you do that? You've got to pull your clutch in, which is defeating the object. So when you come to a stop at the end of that emergency stop, if you were starting it in 4th gear, you should still be in 4th gear. Once the bike stops and everything's calmed down, now we'll think about going down the gearbox. Okay? And that's it. That's the emergency stop. So, going to get you to have a ride back to the top again, come back down our road, and as you come down, at some point it's going to give you a hand signal. In fact, we'll send you up the road, and we'll get one of you coming down that way, and one of you coming down the other, and we can split you apart, So if you go to the left, and I'll sort of walk over there with you, and if you go to the right, okay, whenever you're ready. No problem with that. Good stop, nice control, spot on. Could be a fluke. Another one. Alright?
Yeah.
Good lad, shoulder check, well done. Nice little bit of clutch slip between your gears, smashing. Right, I'm happy with that, you're happy with that?
Yeah.
Great stuff.